Once again, welcome to everyone to our Wednesday webinar presented by PDSVISION. My name is Michael Wimberly, and I will be presenting Windchill Change Management Part 1. I know initially when you all signed up for this, it was just saying Windchill Change Management, but as I got into it a little bit more, and just to kind of give you a little more in-depth look at change management, I decided to break it into two pieces. So the one for today, we're going to go in and deal with problem reports and change requests. And then in 2 weeks, I'm going to do a part 2, which gets into the change notice. And the reason I really want to do that is because there's a lot of information that we can get from and put into like change notices. So I wanted to spend a little bit more time in change notices. That's kind of why it's its own separate webinar, but that will be part 2 in 2 weeks. So on October 8th will be the part 2 of the Windchill Change Management webinar. So just so you know, once again, this one will just deal with problem reports and change requests, and then the part 2 will deal with the actual change notice. All right. So once again, the overall agenda is to go in and review the Windchill Change Management problem reports and change requests. I'll do a brief introduction of myself and PDSVISION. Then I'll go and talk about problem reports, or I'll give a change management overview, and then we'll go into Windchill and start to create and talk about problem reports and change requests and what can be put inside of those. All right. So once again, my name is Michael Wimberly. I'm the Technical Director of Customer Success inside of PDSVISION. I've been with PDSVISION for over 11 years now. I've worked with PTC products. I just say over 25 years now, but I won't mention that it's coming up on 30, but it's over 25 years. And of course, I've been within the PTC channel doing training, mentoring, the whole thing for over 20 years now. Been a certified trainer and Windchill and Creo implementer as well. So, and then as far as PDSVISION, we are technology leader. We are the first PTC global reseller and preferred services provider. As you can see by the map on the right, we have locations, of course, here in the United States, Canada, Europe, South Africa, and in the Middle East areas as well as Asia. So we are spread out quite a bit across the globe. So that works really well for our customer base because, as we know, customers are not just in one location now or just even within one continent now. They have locations all over the globe. So that helps us. To go in and meet the needs of our customer base as a whole. Once again, software solutions development for design and manufacturing. Our capabilities overall, of course, are consulting, implementation services, professional training, some cloud services, and then of course our help desk. This is just an overall timeline of some of the US-based companies. And with that, our original company was Boundary Systems, but with Boundary Systems, we became part of PDSVISION, in 2018. After 2018, in 2022, we also, the Sconce Corporation also became a part of PDSVISION. And then we also had some additional add-ons from Boston Engineering that also now became basically what we know as PDSVISION North America. And once again, that creates a foundation of who we are. But once again, PDSVISION Group is our corporation over in, or the overall company over in Europe. All right, so change management. Change management is a part of the overall digital thread. I know that we've actually done webinars, so if you're not familiar with digital thread and some of the purposes of that, we actually have several digital thread webinars on our YouTube page. So if you go there and just do a search on digital thread, you will actually see those videos. But what it's simply talking about is how all of the pieces of your corporation merge together through a digital thread. So what we're looking at here are 4 tiers of that digital thread: the product virtualization, the process virtualization, digital manufacturing, and then of course the overall connected ends of everything. The change management piece, which is we're covering now, of course, goes into the process virtualization. And of course, with that, it can be done on our CAD files, technical publications, any requirement documents, anything that we manage with inside of Windchill. We can use change management to go in and manage its growth, its maturity, or as well as the changes associated with those. So what is change management? In engineering, change management is a process of documenting, reviewing, and approving changes to engineering designs. That's the core of it. At its core, that's basically what we're doing, is we're going in and we have a change that we want to implement or at least review, and we go through the process of doing that. Many companies have different processes that do that, but there are 3 core things that are similar to all. Is there is a report of either a problem or an improvement that needs to be done. That problem and improvement is then analyzed to figure out whether or not it's something that needs to be implemented and how critical that implementation could or should be. And then if it is this theme that it is necessary, then of course we go through and we fix that problem or we implement that improvement, whatever it may be. So whatever, we companies, some use, multiple systems to manage this. Some people I know, they still use some Excel, some still use PDFs to drive it, whatever it may be. But a lot of that is now driven by, of course, the digital footprint that everybody has. Now with that, Windchill has tools for each one of those to go on and report a problem, whether it be the individual engineering or someone that may be from field service or someone else. They can go through and report that problem using a problem report. That problem report is then sent to an individual. They can go through and look at it and figure out, do a first line of analyzing what the issue may be and figure out whether or not it's a quote unquote user error or is it an actual error or an issue with the actual product itself. From there, they can create a change request. So now they've analyzed it, something needs to be done. We now have a change request, and now we can go through and have multiple people look at this and figure out how to go through and resolve this issue. So through meetings, through design reviews, whatever it may be, emails going back and forth, all those things will be associated with the actual change request. And then of course, with the change request, once it has been deemed what the changes are and the objects that are involved in it, then we go into the change notice. And that is the actual implementation of the actual changes themselves. And of course, with that, as I mentioned just a moment ago, the change management piece of it isn't just for CAD files. It can be for your documents. It can be for programs. So any of the milling programs that you may have, your manufacturing programs, movies, you've edited a movie, you're going in and storing that information inside of Windchill as well, and you've done an edit to the movie. That once again can go through that change process as well as maintaining the history of the files inside of Windchill. So once again, it is not just for CAD files, it can be for any type of files that are stored inside of Windchill. All right, so let's go in and do a demonstration. So right now I am in Windchill. So I'll go to my home page. You can see in my home page, I have my workspaces that I work in. I have an administrator account, so I actually have access to others. And then of course my tasks that are listed here, updates, whatever it may be. And if I wanted to go through and display any additional information, I can do that here. So any reports, discussions that I might have, and we'll get into this a little bit actually when we look at the change notice piece of it as well, because I mentioned emails. but we can also go through and use discussions to go in and do that, all that information with inside of Windchill. So keep that in the back of your mind, because once again, we will discuss that when we get into the change notice. All right, so what we're looking at right now is I have an assembly that I want to go through and look at, and I actually got a notice from the shop floor asking for information. Now, what they did was they actually went over and on left side in this part, they actually went into Windchill and actually pulled up the model. So this is one of the benefits of having your viewables, is that what they did was they went inside of the model, pulled it up in Creo view, and actually did a markup in Creo view. Simple markup. I'll open it here, just validating me. And all they simply did was create a markup and ask if this diameter, can this value be increased? Pretty simple. So they went in and actually had that. This is actually in Windchill. This is the markup of this file inside of Windchill. If I also come to this file, they opened up a problem report. So I'm just going to show you one right now. I'm going to create one in just a moment. But they actually opened up a problem report with this. And what they did was, just in case I didn't go into Creo view to look at the file, they actually attached the image of that to this problem report. So they created a simple screenshot and simply added it to this problem report. So that's listed here. So same thing is they create this problem report, and their question is, the slot radius size. Can the size of the radius around the inserting slot be increased? This will give more stability. So this is their question for that specific file. Cool. That's good. So once again, that information, I knew about that information because in my tasks, I actually received a notice. I spelled it right, it would help. So when they created that problem report, because I am in the role of Change Administrator 1, I received notification of their problem report that they created. So I have the ability to now go in and analyze it. Same thing here. And then after I look into it, I can go through and validate whether or not, yes, it's confirmed that this can happen. It's not verified. If it was an issue, I could say it was not reproducible. If it was some other issue, I could say this will not be resolved. And it may be because there is a new revision of this file. So what they're looking at could be an old error, and that would be something I would add in the comments. This is not going to be resolved or has been resolved in revision such and such or a new part number. I can also tell them that this is a duplicate. Your question or your issue has already been asked before. So what you're asking is basically secondary, or the second or third, however many times I've received it before, or if I need clarification. So I can go in and say clarification, put in comments, and what this does, it sends it back to whomever initiated it. Now, it could be me that I actually initiated on behalf of somebody that did not have access to Windchill, but what I'm doing is creating an assignment for myself to follow back up with the person that had the question to find out whether or not, or to get more information about it, sorry, not to make sure that what they wanted to do was something that was worth doing. All right. So going back into the stadium seats, there's also some additional information or additional changes that were asked about. So for this rod, we have it here. And once again, I'm going to open this up in Creo View as well. And once again, Creo View is just the viewable or the software that you can use to go in and view the images. As I said before, this is where the benefit of having your published images available, because it's just a lightweight viewable of the actual file. As you can see, I'm using Creo View Lite. I'm not actually using full-blown Creo. So I can still view it. I can't make changes to it. I can do measurements on it if I need to. So if I need to go in and find out what this diameter is, I can go in and see that. So it can go in and give me the information that I need. Or I can go in and do, a distance from here to here. And it'll go in and show me what that distance is between them. So I have the ability to go through and do measurements on these. Like I said, I can't make any modifications, but I can go through and do measurements. So this is useful, not just for the engineers, but also maybe the shop guys that may be looking at things, anybody that needs just a view access. And I'm right now showing the actual CAD file, but I also have the ability to also pull up the drawing. Same thing here, and now I have the drawing file. It goes and it shows this information. So, and this is just published as a plot file, which just gives me the basic tools inside of Creo View, but there is the ability to publish your drawings as a PDF, and what you're able to do is use Adobe. If you have a full version of Adobe, you can actually have Adobe be your markup tool inside of Creo View as well. So that is available for you to use if you have Adobe, and once again, you publish your viewable as a PDF file. So I say that because a lot of people, of course, with any design changes, you're still doing markups. Here's an example. If we want to do a markup here, I can just go in and create a shape. I'm going to do a circle. I'm going to put it around this geometry here. I'm going to go in and create a note with the leader. Comes off here. And just simply ask a question. Increase. And there we have it. So instead of going in and creating a PDF, printing it out, using an actual markup of a marker or pen or whatever on an actual piece of paper, it can be done here inside of Creo View, and that can actually be saved to the file just like it was a moment ago. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to basically say slot with increase. And now that gets saved back to the viewables associated with this drawing. So when I close this and I come over and I do a quick refresh, there's my markup. So this is beneficial because as you are doing your changes, whether we're talking engineering changes, the problem report information, change requests, change notices, any of those things, and you're doing markups, you can put them here. That way anybody has access to them. It doesn't matter whose desk is on. It doesn't matter who you emailed it to, because anybody that has access to this file will now be able to come over here and view this viewable inside of Creo View. And once again, if you have Windchill, then you have access to download this Creo View Lite version. It does not require a license to do it. There are other versions of Creo View that you can go in and use. There's an MCAD, there's an ECAD that you can also go in and use, but those do require actual licenses to do so. So what I would do is go in and analyze what you're doing inside of those, just to make sure that the functionality that you need is not in Creo View Lite before you go through and purchase it. So, but if you want to purchase it, I'll sell it to you. But anyway, but yeah, so for this, what we want to go through and do is we want to go through and create an actual problem report for this rod. And I'm going to do it on the actual part file because I want to show, of course, the gathering of everything else. So that markup that I just did is actually what I'm going to go in and do the problem report for. And actually, just so I can do it the same way I did before, I am going to open this up and create a quick snapshot of it, so we can also see attaching this to the sorry. All right. So once again, I'm going to go to the model, which is the actual rod part itself. And then I'm going to go into actions, new, and underneath here is a problem report. So I'm going to go in and select on problem report. And then the name of this is going to be slot with increase. And the requester, is it something that I had gone in and talked about, or did this come from someone else? Now, once again, if I'm doing it on behalf of somebody and maybe I had an email or some other document that they sent it to me through, then I would go in and say, hey, this is from, I'll say assembly. And this is a product improvement and what priority of it, you know, and once again, I can say increasing the width. That's the information. When do I need it by? If I have a due date that I want to go through and have this question answered by, I can go through and specify that. Let's just put a date in there on Friday. All right. Then next is the affected end item. So if you're using Windchill and you're using WT parts, there is a specific type of WT part that is called an end item. That end item is basically what we determine as a deliverable. So for this that I'm working on here, the deliverable is the overall seat that this is associated with. And I didn't pull that up, but I will. It is the overall seat that this thing is associated with. And that will be the end item. If that is something that I need to go in and attach this to, I can go in and, that I can attach it to, I will go in and do that here. For right now, I'm not going to do it, and I will show you an end item in just a moment, or how to create them if they're not already there. But this is the deliverable that this item will be associated with. Once again, I'm not going to do that at the moment, but I come in next, and because I started the problem report on that particular item, which is this rod, it now collects this rod. Now, what I want to do is I want to collect all the other items that are associated with this rod. So I'm going to select it to collect affected items. And what I want to do is I want to go in and select its WT part that is associated with it. And because I do know that it has a drawing, I'm going to collect its drawing as well. Now, just like anything else, it brings all the related objects. So it automatically brings with it the format. I don't need the format, so I can come over here and say remove the format from this list. Now, of course, because of Windchill, if I do download this to my workspace at some point, it will, of course, download the format. But what I'm saying is I'm just looking at my primary files right now, which is the CAD file, the drawing file, and the WT. All right, so those are currently my attachment. My primary files. The next thing I want to do is I want to go through and now add an attachment. So right now, remember I took the screenshot of this actual Creo view. I haven't saved it yet, so I'm gonna do that now. I'm going to go in and say slot increase image, save it. And now what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to go in and attach a new local file. So the file that I'm looking for does not exist inside of Windchill. So I'm going to go in and find that file. And that file is going to be here, which is my slot increase image. And that now gets attached. So once again, doesn't matter what the file is, whether it's a picture file, a movie file, maybe it's something that is failing, while it's in action. So what you can do is record a video and attach that video as part of this problem report. And then once again, people can go in and see what the actual issue is, where it fails at, and do a little bit more analysis there. Or if you do have that video and you don't actually have the video file, or maybe it's just a very large file, you can upload it to YouTube and simply go through and give the URL to that YouTube video and post it here. So it doesn't have to be the physical file. It can go in and actually be a link to some other file that you're looking at as well. Or maybe it's a reference file. Or an external storage file, which is basically like a zip file. So that way I'm looking specifically for a zip file to go through and attach. So for this one, once again, I'm just doing the image. So if we go back through again, here is the actual information about it. So the problem report that I'm creating, the affected end item, which once again, we did not designate, the affected items, the attachments, and then the next one would be any associated changes. So if there was already something associated with this rod that they wanted to change, I can go through and link these two together. So I would now go through and add that to this. So that now, once again, as we go in and move forward, we have these two problem reports that are basically moving together. So I can come over here and say finish. At this point, if I am done and I'm ready for this to be reviewed, I can go in and say submit now. If there's some additional information that I'm waiting for, that I'll need to come through and update this for later, I can say submit later, come back to it, add the information that I need, and then do a submit now once I'm actually done. So I will go ahead once again and say submit now, and it now goes in and creates this problem report. So now when I go back to my home page again, and I come over to my tasks, when I come over here and look at problem, filter, there we go. Now we can see the two problem reports that I have to go through and look at. So there's a slot radius size and there's a slot width. So I'm going to go in and analyze this one, which is once again the one that we just created. And this is where I can go through and say, okay, here's the image. So once again, the image that we just attached. And once again, understand that I'm playing different roles in this. So I am actually in here as change administrator 1. So as soon as I create a problem report, whoever's in the role on that team as change administrator 1 now gets this notification. So if I come over here and go into this one, oh, not tasks, sorry, team, you can see that for the process that we're going to go through, I'm basically everything. I'm going to be change administrator 1, 2, and 3, and also the review board when necessary. So I'm going to get all the notifications, but for your products, you may have somebody that reviews problem reports that come in. They'll get not only the task, but they'll also get an email. Same thing with change administrator 2. They need to go through and evaluate the change notice information. So that could be somebody different than whoever reviews the change request and the problem report. And then the auditor of the whole process will be change administrator 3. So who is the person that I need to go through and review to make sure that everything was done appropriately? Basically, like I said, the auditor. And once again, I'm going to play all these roles in these webinars. So once again, I'm in here as change administrator 1. I now go through and review the information. There's the actual process itself, the impacts. What are the files? Once again, if I need to go through and look at the file, all right, I'm going here. There's a rod. Where is this rod associated with? So if I looked at related objects, it shows me that this rod is used in this stadium seat bottom seat assembly, but there's another level. So if I expand this, it now gives me the overall stadium seat. So if I go into the stadium seat, I can look at the overall product itself. Once again, I'll go in and view this in Creo view. So let's go through and display everything. And there we have it. So we can see the different objects in here. And then here's that assembly. If I expand that assembly, there I can see the rod and I can see exactly where that rod is located within this assembly. If I need to see just the seat that it's in, I can select on it and I can say open it in a new view, and it just opens up the seat. And then I can go in and review this as well. All right, so in my analysis, I can come over and look at this and say, okay, what they want to increase is the width of this here. If I increase this width, then this width also has to change. So can it be done? Sure. But just like everything else, it's not as simple as just changing one part. It's going to have to change multiple parts. Now, if you also remember, I also had that other problem report. That other problem report was talking about increasing the radius of the slot in the left side, which of course would automatically create it for the right side as well. So what I'm looking at now is two separate changes that can technically be implemented at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my, and I'm just going backwards. I'm just going to go back into my problem report and I look at this and I say, oh, this is confirmed. And then I'm going to say also review other PRs associated with the stadiums. That way we don't miss anything. All right, so I'll complete that. And come back into my home page. Great. And I can see, and this is just the easiest way for me to do it. This right here is the actual change request. I'm sorry, the problem report that was selected. And it has been accepted. And we can see here that that one has been accepted. The other one, which is the radius size, is still under review. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select on this one. And from this problem report, I'm now going to go through and create my change request. So I'm going to say actions, new, change request. Now, the benefit of doing it from the problem report is I get to propagate the information from the problem report directly into the change request. So I don't have to type everything in here. You can see that it took all the information. It's a slot width increase. It is product improvement. It's a low priority, and I need it by Friday. And it took the note as well. Now it does give me the solution down here. What is the proposed solution? Increasing width and changing sidewalls. Now, with that, I have the ability to go through and specify costing. So there's a reoccurring cost and there's a non-reoccurring cost. The way I look at those is, what does it cost more or less to continue to make this part? So if this is made in a mold, then how much more material cost is it? How much longer does it take for it to be created? That is a reoccurring cost. So for every one, it increases its the amount of material that it uses. I don't know about, let's just say 50 cents. I don't know. We can just put something in there, and it is just text. So I can come over here and say it is, I'll make it a nice round number, $1.50. Now, the non-reoccurring cost would be, what does it cost to update the mold? That is a one-time shot. So in order for me to go through and update this to get it to where we want it to be, we have to go through and change that mold design. What is the cost of doing that? And we'll just say that's $250. And once again, I'm literally just throwing numbers out here just to fill it in. So I have no clue. And I'm going to say this is $150 per part. And then next. Now, once again, end items. If I had an end item from the previous one, I could go in and bring that in. But I do not. So I will go ahead and hit next. And once again, we can now see that it has the same three objects that we had before: the part, the drawing, and the WG part. But once again, something that we already know that we're going to do is we're going to go in and actually bring in those left and right walls. So what I can come over here and do is add additional affected items. And in the context that I wanted to search, I wanted to search in a product, and the product name is demo. So it's going to search within my demo sets. And I'm going to say, I think it was left. It's not a number, sorry, that's under name. And there we go. So we have the left side wall, and you can see that it also has its WG part and its drawing. Awesome. Go ahead and add those. So those are there, but I also want to go through and add the right. So I actually should have did that at the same time. So here, this context, once again, demo. And then this one is going to be right. And this one, once again, we're looking at the stadium seat. So the SS are the three files that we're looking for. Because once again, if you change one, you're going to change the other. So I'm going to go ahead and evaluate these. Next, there's the attachment that we have here. And then we have the next. Actually, what I can also do is add, so that was this one, the increased radius. I can also go in and add that one here too. So now they're both listed here. And now this is where we have any associated objects related to this. So I can go in and select on this, go in and now add any additional processes. I think its number was 05, so it finds it, yes. All right, and that is this one here. So that slot radius, I am now going and attaching this slot radius problem report to this same change request, because I want them both to be evaluated at the same time. And as we move forward to make the changes, I want this also to be evaluated too. So we can incorporate all these changes at the same time. All right, at this point, I will go ahead and select finish. And once again, say submit now. So now this change request has been submitted. And once again, it will go to the change administrator 1 again, because the change administrator 1 actually goes in and reviews both the problem report and the change request. And as you can see here, it shows up right here. And if it is somebody that is not in Windchill, it will also send them an email if you have your email server connected to Windchill. So that way they'll get the email and they can go in and select the link and it'll bring them right into Windchill into the actual change request. So same thing like we did with the problem report. We can come over here and analyze the information. There we see the 2 images that we can go through and review. We also have what's impacted. We can see all 3 of these files, whether we're talking the left side, the right side, or the rod itself. All of those objects we can go through and see. And just like before, open each one of them up, look at them in Creo view to review the information that is associated with it there. Now, with this, we also have the options of the path that it's going to take. So we have fast track with approval, we have fast track offline review, fast track online review, we have clarify, we have reassign, reject, and review. So with the fast track approval, once again, it simply requires for the approval for it to move forward. The full track online and full track offline, what those do, those go through the change, the change review board. So it will actually now have an additional step that goes in and now have a meeting, for lack of a better way to say it. So you bring in the people necessary, those that are in charge of the mold, so manufacturing, those are in the procurement, the design engineers, anybody that this may go in effect, you can now get in a room, get in a Zoom, whatever is necessary to now have a discussion as to, does this change make sense? If so, when do we implement it? What do we do with the existing stock? So on and so forth. So we have those type of conversations, and we'll look at those dispositions a little bit more when we go into the actual change notes, because we can actually set some of that stuff up. And of course, clarify is, okay, I need a little bit more information. So I would send it back. I would now go in and reassign it. Maybe this is something that I'm going out of town, or maybe this is a different design that somebody else is in charge of. I can now send it to them for them to review it. I can reject the whole thing, or I can just do like an internal design review and actually go in and view and look at it as well. So just an overall review, which is different than the change review board, because we're not looking at all those people. But remember, I mentioned to you before, that's what this is. So anybody that will be listed here would actually get notification. And in this workflow, we can tweak it so that when it gets submitted, it could also send emails to other individuals as well. So, all right, so at this point, we will go through and define which direction we want this to go in, and then once again, submit it. At that point, we will now go through the actual change notice. And as I mentioned before, that is going to be part 2 in 2 weeks. So we're going to go through the actual change notice part of this whole thing in 2 weeks. At this point, are there any additional questions? I see one. Is there any update plans so that reoccurring and non-reoccurring cost fields can be properly formatted instead of time? I don't think so, to be perfectly honest. So the question was, in that change request that I had, which is here, where I went in and put the information as far as reoccurring, non-reoccurring cost, is this going to be something that can be reformatted to something that is an actual value that can be used? And I say I don't think so, only because it's been text forever. And it's just been information that's been put in there. So at the moment, no, I don't know of any plans to make any changes to that, so it is actually a properly formatted numeric field. Does anybody else have any additional questions? I must have dazzled you all enough that you understand everything that I've gone through. But if you do have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me, michael.wimberly@pdsvision.com. So yeah, any questions that you have, whether it's technical questions, sales related questions, anything, definitely feel free to reach out. If you come up with a question that you have after this is over that I wish I would have asked, please ask. You can also go through and view us as PDSVISION on our website, PDSVISION.com, to see all the offerings that we have from our technical services, software sales, even some of our webinars and presentations will be on there as well. And you will also be able to find us on YouTube. So just look up PDSVISION and you will go in and find our YouTube page, which will have many, many different videos on there, things that we've done in the past. The question, someone did send out a question, is where can they find this video? This video will be actually sent to you all. So you will get a link to this video of this presentation after it actually uploads. So you will get this. This will not appear immediately on our YouTube page like our previous videos have. So this one you will actually go through and get an email. So anyone that has attended it will actually get a link to actually view this video. So this will not show up on YouTube like tomorrow, like normally, like they have in the past. So we're kind of giving them a little bit of reprise before we actually send things out. So once again, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you all have. Other than that, have a great rest of the day. And I look forward to you guys being on any other webinars that we have, especially the one that we're going to have in 2 weeks. So definitely sign up for that one on our website. You'll also find it the way you found this one, and there will be a notice that goes out for you all as well. So once again, have a great day, and we will see you later.